Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. You know, we begin each one of these magic product reviews with a fiddle tune. And I've been with this theme for a while now, with the tune that I've been working on for a while. I still feel like it needs a little more polishing before I can bring it out to the public. So bear with me as we sort of demo what that looks like. Alright, we're getting there. I feel like I'm landing the notes. Now I just need to bring a little bit of me and the confidence that it takes to pull it off. Much like magic tricks, in that once we learn them, but they still need that time and practice, so it feels like you can bring them out and feel a great confidence with delivering a new effect. Anyway, so today I am reviewing Slick. Now Slick is being released by Alan Rorrison and through JB Magic, which is Mark Mason's magic company. These are guys that I have such great respect for, have continuously been great thinkers in magic, and have released really great products. Now with all of that said, I had some challenges with this. Doesn't mean it's a bad product, but there were elements that I think would have been helpful for me to consider in advance of purchasing it, and I'll share some of those things with you. Stick around, we'll get right into Slick by Alan Rorrison. Hello everyone. Hey, I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for being here. I know I say it a lot, but I really do genuinely appreciate it, and I want you to know. Okay, so today I'm reviewing Slick by Alan Rorrison. I'm going to say I had a little bit of a difficult time with this one. And maybe the difficult time is because I have such respect for Alan Rorrison as a creator. Just a brilliant mind, love his releases, love the way he thinks, and just great respect for him. And I'll also add that for Mark Mason, another person whose releases are always really solid. I feel like there's certain creators you could just, trust. Sometimes I don't even need to see their trailer. I'm going to buy the product because I know they do a great job. And on this one, it is one of those projects that's been released that I feel like it's not a bad product. It's just that there are things in ad copy that would be nice to be included. There are elements of the tutorial that I think did not meet my expectations. And I think some ideas that aren't fully fleshed out yet. So those are some of my takeaways, and maybe I should have saved all of that for the very end, because now, maybe you have as much as you're interested in. But I'll get into the specifics here. All right, so let's talk about what is Slick. I like the name, Slick. It might give you a little bit of a clue. So what is Slick? Slick is a peak device, but it's essentially a, and here it is. It is a wallet that can be used as a peak device. And when I say wallet, it's really sort of a business card holder slash billet holder slash credit card holder, driver's license type holder. It doesn't look like your traditional wallet, but it can be used as a peak device. And I'll go up close here in a second so that you can see the close-up look of it. But it's a wallet that can be used as a peak device. So that's what it is. Let's talk about what do you get. Well, you're going to get a tutorial, and the tutorial is not super long. The tutorial is a total of, I think, a little over 25 minutes in length, and the tutorial that you get is downloadable and streamable. So for those folks who care about being able to get it downloadable, it is fully downloadable, and then you're going to get the peak device itself. So I'm going to bring this up close so you can get a close look at what does it look like. And it's always good if you don't kick your own camera. So this is part of it. This is the other side of it, in which I put in my cards and credit card and money, that sort of thing. It's got a plastic holder here so it can sort of, I don't know if you can see that with it as dark as it is, but you've got your elastic band on here so you can hold things in place. I'll take all of these elements out so you can see other parts of it. On this part of it, there is a blister pack. So here's your blister pack, which are ESP symbols, so that if you want to perform an ESP routine and you want to use the blister pack, you can use that. I'll say that actually the blister pack might be the best part of this release, or the one thing that's like surefire and you don't have to worry about it 100%. I like the size of them and it really works. And on this side, I'm going to point out a special piece of it. It has on here carbon fiber. And this carbon fiber is really important in that it really helps to make this device unique and sort of the piece that really makes it work. Other than that, this is a solid piece of hard plastic that's durable. I can't bend it really, so you know that it should last a very long time. All right, let's put some of my things back in here, back into the wall. I'll show you something fun here, in that since it's released by Mark Mason, I thought it only appropriate that I carry my Mark Mason business card in here. So, all right, a little fun fact, a little Easter egg there for you folks of some sorts. All right, so that's what you get. Let's talk a little bit about how are the instructions. So the instructions overall are just really, they're average. They're not great, they're not amazing, they're just totally average. So in the tutorial, you're going to have 3 different people giving you a tutorial. You're going to have Mark Mason opening it up, and he's going to do sort of the bulk of the tutorial. You're then going to have Javier Fermoy. Javier, I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. Javier is going to come in, and he's going to sort of give his handling, which is a little bit different and unique, and go over it. Not quite as long as Mark's, because Mark's going to go in through the method, and Javier's really going to go into some technique when using it. And then finally you're going to get the creator, Alan Rorrison, who really gives you a bonus effect essentially at the end, and he's going to teach a card to impossible location routine. So those are the 3 elements of the tutorial. But why do I say that it's average? The technical aspects are fine in terms of it's lit nicely, looks nicely, but I kind of feel like it's still half-baked and hasn't really been fully thought through. It feels like to me like Alan created a really good product and brought it to market relatively quickly and hasn't been in the field and tested by the folks on the tutorial for the last year. That maybe they've been handling it for the last couple weeks and now they're doing it. Now, that may be complete projection here on my side. I don't know if that's really, but that's what it felt like to me. Again, I'm not saying it's a bad product. I'm just saying those are some of the things in terms of what it feels like to me. Mark Mason comes in and he's doing something a little bit different this time. He usually almost always opens on his releases with a performance in studio with someone. He decided not to do that this time. Felt like it really wasn't necessary, and that he immediately goes into the product itself and how it works, the method, and then sort of some routining. I don't know that his thinking overall was terrible in that respect. Because ultimately when it comes down to a peak device, it's up to you as the performer to really create the moments that are magical, to learn how to do the tension building before you do a reveal. And this is really, it's a tool. And Mark is going to teach you, here's the tool, here's how the tool works. It is now in your hands to come up with sort of the creation of an amazing type of a routine. So, but at the end of the day, with all of that said, I think there's a lot of people who are probably beginners and would benefit from seeing some live performances, because the handling of this gimmick is just unique enough and can kind of be finicky at times that I'd like to see the creators and what it looks like in their hands, because they should be the ones who have like spent the time with it, and now we get to see, once you've put in the time, what it really looks like, and be able to speak to some of the subtlety and nuance of your handling of the gimmick. So anyway, I think that's some of my overall thinking as it's related to the instructions. Let me talk about a couple of other things as it's related to the tutorial. And it's the sort of thing that I wish, like, oh, I wish they had talked about this in the ad copy, but I get it that they're probably not going to talk about it in the ad copy. So when you get your device here, the things that they're not really talked about is that you will have a spectator write something on the back of a business card. So on the back of the business card, you're going to have them write something. Now, since it's a peak device, with this peak device, you really need just like the bottom quarter of it. So you're only going to use this peak device for someone to write something on the back of a business card, and really only on the bottom half, so you can only really use about this much of your business card. And my apologies there, it's not focusing, but that's about where you're going to be able to use on your business card. Given that you're not going to be able to do on this peak device, you're not going to be able to do really a drawing duplication. You're only going to be able to peak things like maybe names, numbers, or maybe symbols that can be written in this small area on the bottom half or bottom quarter of the back of a business card. Something else that's important with this that they don't, I don't believe it is addressed in the ad copy, is that it is best, one, to be used with business cards, and the business cards should have a little bit of a gloss or a sheen on them, because you want this to be able to slide in and out of your peak device really well, and the slicker your surface is of your business card, the easier it is in this device. Now, Javier does teach a version in here that, well, I'll get to that in a second. So anyway, having a little bit of sheen on this is really going to help. So if you currently have business cards that have a flatness on it, not as good. I have billets, and when I first started using it with my billets do not have any sheen on them whatsoever. These are really a flat surface, and I found that they were not as effective because they didn't have the sheen on them. So I'm ordering additional business cards that will have a sheen on them so that I can use this device, because yes, I am going to use this device, but it does require that. The other piece that's not talked about in the ad copy, and this is where it's a little bit difficult to talk about because I don't want to give away too much method. But on Mark Mason's section, he teaches his version that does require the use of a credit card in essence. And the truth is, it doesn't really need to be a credit card, but whatever card you use, let's say I'm using my Starbucks card, because once you have your spectator write down their prediction, you're going to put that prediction on the side here that has your what is it, the titanium or whatever it's called. Geez, I can't even remember what it's called. You're going to put that face down here at this moment, and then as sort of like your justification, you'll say, look, let's just keep this under test conditions. I'm going to take my credit card, I'm going to put my credit card over the top of it so it's like I can't even peek through, or like it won't bleed through, and be able to see that. Well, whatever card you use, and in Mark Mason's version it's a credit card, the lettering or the numbers on the credit card must be raised. Well, I went to my wallet immediately, pulled out my credit cards, and all of my credit cards are new and updated and contemporary, and the numbers are not raised, but they're flat on the actual device. And therefore, the method that he is prescribing will not work with any of my credit cards because they do not have raised numbers on them. Now, not to fret, because once you get to the Javier section, Javier really teaches a method where you can gimmick your contemporary credit card that doesn't have any raised numbers on it. He'll teach you how to gimmick it so that it will still work. And I actually found Javier's method worked a little bit better for me than my actual credit cards that have the raised numbers on them. I shouldn't say I have a credit card that have raised numbers. I have like a health card that has raised numbers on it, essentially the same as a credit card, and found that I like the method that Javier employs better. So, but this is not at all acknowledged in Mark Mason's section. He has just plowed through with assuming that everybody has a credit card that has the raised numbers on them, and I think that is less and less of a thing with credit cards these days, certainly in the United States, and they're mostly just, you know, written into the actual credit card. All right, I'm probably babbling on, but it's the sort of detail that I want folks to know, is that if you're going to get it, Credit cards that have the raised numbers on it are a little bit, in terms of what's taught on the tutorial, Javier will teach you a method in which to gimmick your credit card. But that does mean that you're gimmicking your credit card, still totally usable 100%, but something for you to know. The other thing that I'll go back to is that whatever business card you use, it's best. This here does not, one of my business cards does not have a sheen on it, so it's nice to have a sheen on that card. All right, let's talk about how is the gimmick itself. Well, the gimmick's great. It's fine. It's the handling of this gimmick that is the most important piece of it. It's durable. I would imagine this will last pretty much a lifetime, okay, or an awfully long time. So I guess the gimmick is okay. I guess some of the shortcomings here is that I don't know that there's any other wallet that I have or business card holder that looks anything like this. I don't know that anyone's ever going to question me about it because there's so many different kinds of wallets out there these days. Does anyone really care? And it should not be suspicious at all, especially if you're a good performer and you know how to do enough misdirection and you know how to sort of structure your routine, that it should never be considered anyway. But again, something that I know some folks will care about. For me personally, I don't care what it really looks like. I'll use it. I'll actually use it as everyday carry, throw in some money into it, my driver's license, a credit card, and I'm ready to go along with some business cards. But something for you to know. And I'll add here, this active part here is the piece that matters the most, that you must put all of your cards in this side of it rather than on the side that has the blister pack. All right. What's the skill level here? I think technically a lot of people might think this is a beginner level. I'm going to say this is an advanced beginner to intermediate level, because there are subtleties when you're trying to get the peak that are just going to require practice. From a training perspective, it's easy peasy. It's like you learn how to do it, and within minutes you can go out and perform it. In fact, what I did, and this will be in my con section, I watched the Mark Mason section of it, a total of, I don't know, 12 minutes or something, not super long, but just long enough like, okay, I know what the method is, I know how to do this, and I went out and performed it. It doesn't give any subtlety or nuance on the Mark Mason section. You basically are learning the method. I know the method, put together my own routine and went out and performed it, got really good reactions. But I do know that in order for me to get the peak, I do have to have a couple things in play. Like I would always use the exact same credit card all the time. I would use the exact same cards, business cards, all at the same time. I'm going to use my own business cards. I'm not going to borrow somebody else's business card because I know how thick my personal business cards are. I know the nuance of the credit card that I use every single time, because each card that I use of my own is just a little bit different and requires a little bit of sort of different putzing with it. Once you get it down, it works just fine, but it took some practice. And so what I walked away with is always use the exact same business cards that have the same gloss and sheen on them. Always use the same credit card or whatever card, plastic card I'm going to use, always to make sure that it's the same. Which brings me to, it would have been nice maybe if they just included a fake credit card so that everyone has a fake credit card that they can use with the raised numbers and go from there. But anyway, skill level, which is what I'm really talking about here, advanced to beginner to intermediate level. All right, let's talk about the pros. It's a durable gimmick that uses the technology on here, which is not like electronic technology or magnetic technology, but allows it to be slick, and the slickness is really going to help you there. Another pro is like, this is great everyday carry. We all carry some form of wallet on us, and so for this, it's a great everyday carry. And this gimmick is fully inspectable. You can hand this out to your spectator. Now, why you would hand it out to a spectator, I don't know, because it should never be in play from a spectator's point of thinking. But if it did come into play and they said, let me see that, you can hand it to them. There's nothing to see, or there's nothing to hide. It's not like you're getting a peek because you can see through this, as if it's some sort of privacy screen type thing. That is not the method with this. The slickness is part of the method here. All right, let's talk about the cons. I just think it would have been nice if the tutorial was a little bit better and the layout of the tutorial. here's the deal. Once I watched the Mark Mason section of it, and Mark Mason's section is broken out into like introduction is 59 seconds. How the gimmick is another minute and a half. The method is another 6 minutes or something to that effect. And they're each individual little tutorials that you can click on each one of those. Or at the top there's a play all button. So I just clicked on the play all button and it played through all of those sections. And I figured I was done and that I had seen all the videos that were on the left side of their menu. Well, when I came back to sit down and write my review of this, and I'd already gone out and performed it, I noticed that there was like an Alan Rorrison tutorial and there was a Javier tutorial, which I didn't even know existed because the layout is so poor that once I clicked the play all button, I just assumed it had played through all of the tutorials that were available because that seems logical to me. But no, it only plays all as it's related specifically to Mark Mason's section and not the add-ons of Javier and Rory. So I then went and watched the Javier tutorial section of it, and while it's not super long, I don't know, it's 9 minutes or so, it was really good. It was clear to me that Javier has spent the time, took it out into the field, had done some performances, had learned sort of what some of the shortcomings are, and he addressed what I think of sort of some of the shortcomings or the specific handling that he had come up with based upon him using the gimmick. And I think it made this release better. So thank you, Javier, for your addition on there. It makes it a better tutorial for this release. So he also addresses like if you don't have any of raised credit cards, you don't want to gimmick a credit card, he has handlings for you to be able to get the peak without those elements. I think they're a little bit more difficult, but they're all very, very doable. They just require practice. All right. I do think the method can be a little finicky at times. So some of the things I said earlier are things to keep in mind. I'd said earlier that it seems like this was a premature release and probably should have been, I think, through Alan Rorrison. I would have loved to have seen a full tutorial from Alan Rorrison, given that he created the gimmick and sort of like what he's learned from using it over maybe a year's time or using it in personal performances, that sort of stuff. Let's see. I think I've already mentioned all the things like your cards should be slick. It would have been nice to include that in the ad copy. The place where you get the peak is relatively small, which I've already mentioned, so you can really only best do numbers or names or symbols maybe. And it'd been nice if they included maybe a fake credit card. All right, who's gonna like this? This is right up the line for Mentalist because it is really designed for you to get a peek and then decide how you want to do the reveal. And I think this is great for mentalists who like everyday carry. It's perfect in that respect. Now the cost of this is $45, and I'd have to say I feel like it's just a hair expensive for what you get. I felt like if the tutorial had included instruction on how do you create a great sort of mentalism routine where you're able to get a peak and how you build tension in your performance and how you finally do your peak. Like if it done something like that, I'd have been fine, and I feel like the value would have been great. You know, Alan Rorrison does include a bonus effect on there with how to use the peak device, but use it instead not as a peak device, but use it as a card to impossible location. It's a great, it's presented really as an idea. The method is shown, but you don't get a full routine on that. And I like the thinking on it, but again, from a cost value perspective, it feels like it's a little bit expensive. Now, I know it obviously costs to have the device created and built and the materials for this, but at $45, I think it's a little expensive. Probably the sweet spot, it's not a big difference, but it would probably be $35 for me. I'm still going to use it, so I'm going to get value out of it, but it may not be for everybody. All right, that's my thoughts on it. I hope that's helpful. I know I drone on a little bit, but it is one of those releases where it was not easy for me to go, yes, this is a home run. Oh, this works awesome. It's easy right out the gate. The tutorial I felt like was average overall. Felt like the product may have been rushed to market before folks had it in their hand long enough to sort of figure out like, here's all the kinks out that you need to know from it. And it would have been nice to know like slick business cards type of thing. Yeah, and I think that's it. All right, I hope that's helpful. I love Peak devices. I'm still going to pick up more Peak devices. There's some out there that was some recent controversy lately that are a lot more expensive, put out by Mr. Blonde. I picked that one up, but it's $100 and it's getting a lot of negative reviews, and I'm not sure I'm willing to drop $100 to get something that a lot of people have already said is bad. Unless Mr. Blonde, you'd like to send it to me for a review, I'd be happy to review it, because I do love Peak devices and love to perform mentalism where you get a good peak. All right, that's it. Make sure that you like and subscribe and leave a comment. Is always appreciated. And I appreciate all of you who are here and watching these reviews. I hope that they're helpful for you. All right, I'm FiddlinJonny, and remember to keep fiddling around with your magic. I'll see you guys all next time. Bye-bye.